quarterback. We're pretty resolute with that. We want to leave every avenue open for that to happen. So there's a lot to unpack here. And again, we have exactly the right people to do it. Dan and Neek and Mel. And Dan Graziano is my insider. I will start with you. So Aaron Rodgers seems to be, from everything we hear, resolute about not wanting to play there anymore. So I guess my question to you is there reason to believe that he genuinely has taken his last snap for the Packers? And if so, how does it play out from here? What does it look like with him getting out of it?
Oh, I think there's definitely reason to believe that. At this point, it's kind of difficult to imagine him going back. I know the organization is talking about being able to rebuild the relationship, build a bridge back, but based on everything we're hearing, that's not the way Aaron Rodgers feels. So what happens now? Do they trade him? They say they won't, and even if they did, it would cripple them in terms of the cap, $38 million if they did it before June 1st, and then $21 million versus $17 next year if they did it after. The question that the Packers have to ask themselves is, do we want to play hardball and do we want to sort of call his bluff? Because if Aaron Rodgers wants to take this all the way and start sitting out training camp practices, they can fine him $50,000 a day for every day that he misses, and they can go after some of his signing bonus and roster bonus money, get themselves some money back. So that may be the way they decide to go. At this point, it's hard to know because it's hard to see exactly how resolute Aaron Rodgers will turn out to be. The June minicamp, mandatory June minicamp, is the next thing on the calendar that will tell us how serious he is about sitting out.
All right, so there are so many different pieces of this I want to dive into. Let's make this the first one. Dan Orlovsky, knowing a lot of the players involved in this as well as you do, what is your sense of where it stands right this minute?
Yeah, Greeny, there's been 2 seasons in the history of the NFL where a quarterback has thrown for more than 4,000 yards and less than 5 interceptions. Those 2 seasons were both had by Aaron Rodgers, and they are the 2 seasons directly before the Packers chose Jordan Love. You see, a little bit over a year ago, the Packers viewed Aaron Rodgers as like a declining player, a player that's on the back half of his career, the back end of his career, maybe a bridge quarterback. And then they selected Jordan Love. And then Aaron Rodgers said, hold up, I'm the MVP of the league. And the reality is you can't have both of those things at the same time. I heard Andrew Brandt say that. Aaron Rodgers can't be the bridge quarterback and then also be the MVP. It doesn't happen like that. And all that's happening right now is the Packers made a decision a year ago. And instead of it happening 3 years from now, Aaron Rodgers is bringing that decision right to the present time. And it's going to become a game of choosing sides. Who's going to win, the general manager or the quarterback?
That's not a game that most general managers are equipped to play when the quarterback is this level of star, Dominique. Pick up the thought from there.
Yeah, I think that Aaron Rodgers is so valuable that you kind of have to treat players like that, like partners. And we see it happen in the NBA a lot. We don't see it happen in the NFL very often because most of the players, frankly, are not that valuable. You can draft a center behind your center. You can cut a future Hall of Fame linebacker and people won't care. But the MVP quarterback, possibly one of the best, or not possibly, one of the best we've ever seen, coming off one of the best seasons we've ever seen, getting you on the doorstep of the Super Bowl in consecutive seasons, like, that's a different guy. That's not a guy that you can just treat as if he's a regular player. He has to be treated like a partner, especially when he's a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who seems to be, by all accounts, a very kind of emotional and sensitive guy, which is not a criticism of him. He's earned the right to do that in any way that he wants to. So if someone drafted a corner over me, which has happened before, I can't do nothing about that because I'm just me. But Aaron Rodgers is something special. He's a little different.
So, Mel, when all this was breaking, you and I were sitting next to each other in Cleveland, sort of with our jaws agape, could not believe it was happening. Now that you've had a little time to digest it, what is your big picture look at the way things are going right now? Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love, and the Packers.
I'm with Neek. I think if you're so resolute and so committed to Aaron Rodgers now, and you're making those statements after Aaron Rodgers says, I want out of here, I'm not playing another game, why did this happen now? Why didn't this not happen a long time ago? So Aaron knew where he stood, how committed they are to him, how they feel about him. Yeah, we drafted Jordan Love, but we had to. We need that quarterback down the line. It's way down the line. We did it with you, Aaron. We drafted you when we had Brett Favre, and you waited until that year 4. You sat for 3 years. We also drafted Brian Braum while Brett Favre was our quarterback before you were ready. It's just communication. It's like any business that you're in. If you got somebody that's your star and you're an elite performer, And Aaron Rodgers is that guy. Still, to this day, he is one of the best in the NFL, if not the best quarterback. How are you allowing this to be so bad that he has to say, I want out and I'm never playing for you, when he's going to be a Hall of Famer and he's always going to be known as a Green Bay Packer? That's the organization. They are wrong. They are the problem here. And now they're coming out and saying that Aaron Rodgers is great and we're resolute and committed. Too little, too late is my opinion.
Listen, I'm with you. And Dominique, I'm disappointed in you and me together, because we are usually the first ones to overreact to things. But in retrospect, when Rodgers says on Pat McAfee's show, I threw a monkey wrench in their plans by playing so well, we should have pounced at that moment, you and I, Dominique, and said, he's never playing there again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I'm disappointed in us attempting to be responsible journalists at that time when we know that we just want to light the world on fire. So I'm with you, Greeny. We let it down. So that's why now we need to overreact. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to get traded before the start of the season. How about that, Greeny? Are you on board with that?
I mean, I think that's what he wants. Orlovsky, I mean, let me give you the final word on this. And again, we have tons to say about this today. Dan Orlovsky, is that what you believe Rodgers wants at this point? He has pushed it to a point now where it appears that's what he's looking for. So how does it go from here in your view, Orlovsky?
I have felt since the moment this news broke that he was done in Green Bay. This is Aaron Rodgers, okay? If he did not want this information to get out in the way it got out, it would not have gotten out, all right? And understanding that once it's out there, everybody knows. And the Green Bay Packers fans, who are as awesome as we have in the league, they're emotional as well. And they feel a tie to Aaron Rodgers as well. And he knows once that gets out, people are going to turn. There's going to be some people that turn because that's what fans do. I don't think Aaron Rodgers plays for the Packers again. I think they're in a very difficult situation right now. And again, I want to make this point. The coach will always align with the player, okay? Like Matt LaFleur is very smart. He knows for him to win a Super Bowl, the best chance is going to be with Aaron Rodgers. So right now you have a camp of Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur, and then you have a front office led by Brian Gutekunst. Who's going to win? Like, that's what it is. Who is going to win out in the reality of this situation? Once the franchise quarterback lets this information or knows that this information is going to be made public, it creates a storm and an issue behind doors that people don't really understand. And at some point, one side is going to win. This organization does have a singular owner. They don't have a singular owner who can make just a decision. They got an issue here, and I don't think Aaron plays for them again.
All right, as we continue this morning, Dan Graziano is going to tell us what it looks like in order for Aaron Rodgers to get traded, and we will start figuring out the likeliest places. Once again, quarterback, we're pretty resolute with that. We want to leave every avenue open for that to happen. So there's a lot to unpack here. And again, we have exactly the right people to do it. Dan and Neek and Mel. And Dan Graziano is my insider. I will start with you. So Aaron Rodgers seems to be, from everything we hear, resolute about not wanting to play there anymore. So I guess my question to you is there reason to believe that he genuinely has taken his last snap for the Packers? And if so, how does it play out from here? What does it look like with him getting out of it?